What's going on, traders? Andrew O'Connell here with Pristine Capital. Welcome to your market recap video. It is June 27th of 2022. Let's dive in. We're going to start with our box scores for today, and we're going to talk about this chop fest. Boom! All right, so let's take a look here. Box scores. The S&P 500, huge plunge today. Oh my gosh. Down 0.38%. Nah, it's not too bad at all. NASDAQ QQQ down 0.73%. The IWM small caps showed some relative strength. They were up 0.37%. Our dogs of the Dow Jones was down 0.21%. And our ARK Innovation ETF, which I am still long, my January of 2023 calls, finished down 2.25%. We did have a volatility contraction across the board, which is a bullish divergence. And then as we look at our market breadth here, you can see that the small cap breadth was positive. This to me is also glass half full because there's so many more stocks within the Russell 2000 than there are, for instance, in the NASDAQ or the S&P 500. And our up volume closed out at 53.2%. So very interesting that most of these indices were trading down, but in total on exchanges, most issues were actually trading higher. And my trend model remains at a +1 reading. Crude oil month-to-date performance, we've been tracking this like hawks because we know there was a 12% increase in crude oil prices in the month of May. That led to the super elevated inflation CPI print that we got. And so let's see what crude is doing this month. So far, month-to-date for June, it's down 4.24%. We did have a rally in crude oil today, which I was not a fan of. If it's just a rally today, that's perfectly fine. If it turns into a trend and crude oil suddenly flips positive into the end of the month, that's something that I would look at as more like glass half empty. But regardless, I would say at this point, with just a few days left in the month of June, the odds are that we're not going to get crude oil going from negative 4.24% month to date all the way up to plus 12%, which is what we had in May. Finviz heat map. It's pretty interesting. Again, the crude oil stocks, or the energy stocks, excuse me, these were the area of relative strength within the S&P 500. And then a lot of these FANG stocks, they were actually showing relative weakness, like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. Sectors. KWEB is still in our #1 top momentum slot, and the ARK Innovation ETF, despite its negative performance today, it's still in our #2 slot because look at the monthly performance. It's up over 16% month to date. Also, in terms of relative strength, we continue to see the solar energy stocks very strong. We'll take a look at a few of those names. Healthcare strong, home builders, aerospace and defense, utilities, as well as energy. And right now, energy is still at the bottom of our momentum list. So let's hope this is really just like a bear market bounce, bounce within a downtrend, etc. And then our cannabis stocks were up just a smidge. Style factors. Momentum style factor up 0.8%. This is not risk off. The fact that momentum is leading the market, but we did have a mixed bag. High beta stocks were down 0.78%. So a very interesting dichotomy there. We had a really nice move higher last week. Some would call it an upward explosion. But take a look at this. We got basically like a doji candle, some consolidation. That is totally normal, totally welcomed. You can see the 5-day EMA is still pretty far under where price currently is. And pullbacks to the 5-day EMA, they are so normal. So that basically means the further extended away you get from that 5-day EMA, the more likely you are to get shaken out of trades. And take a look, we did test this 20-day simple moving average. We were not able to get above it. That 20-day, remember, it's very important for a bunch of trend following strategies. So if we can clear above that level, that'll be very solid. Also, remember, we have month end as well as quarter end reval. This, coming into the end of the week. So when is that? Yeah, so this Friday is the 1st. So that's all going to be going down by this Thursday, the 30th. So there are flows that are going to be coming into the market. NASDAQ finished right on top of that 20-day simple moving average. Let's see the Russell 2000, our big winner for the day. Russell 2000 moving through this monthly value area. And let's see our dogs of the Dow. Dow Jones was, putting in a doji candle, basically stuck at this bottom of value, cannot even break through. So the dogs of the Dow, they are definitely on the struggle bus compared to some of these other groups within the market. In terms of trades for the day, I only did one trade, but it was executed pretty well. Pretty excited about it. This was one of the names from our Pristine Capital weekend watch list. It's PLAB. It's a stock within the semiconductors group. I put this position on in 2 shots today, one at 9.36, one at 9.51, and got in for an average cost of $20.62. Let's take a look at PLAB. And this name, what we noticed on our Pristine Capital Dark Index dashboard that we put out for members every day around like 6 or 7 p.m. We run a Python script, pulls all of this dark pool data, and then we put that out for members. We saw that the semiconductors group had a 98th percentile dark index reading on Friday. And the semis closed at the very tippy top end of their day's trading range. And then we saw PLAB, which is a leader within that group. So PLAB, I took this stock right around like $20.62. We ended up getting some very nice follow through. So we'll see what PLAB does. If this one continues to move positively or, just consolidate sideways, it won't be long before I move my stop up to break even. In terms of some of these other leaders, PLAB definitely looking like a leader. Some others that we have here, ENPH. This is another name that we're currently long as well. So we got long ENPH on this red candle right here. This one looks very strong. Another market leader, DQ. This is a Chinese solar stock, looking very good. Or this Chinese, I believe it's like a semiconductor stock. This is the Chinese solar stock, JKS. This is one that I traded maybe about a week or so ago, but JKS continues to move to the upside, looks very strong. So we are starting to see that leadership really separate. So like the indices, again, they were down today, but under the hood, there were names that were performing very, very well. Even like for the ARK Innovation ETF, for example, at one point today, this thing was down like 4.5%, looked super scary, right? But it really just pulled back to that 5-day EMA. Now we continue to struggle at this 50-day simple moving average, which we have not been able to recover since we lost it in early April. This would be a major positive. If we could climb over value, climb over that 50-day moving average, that would be awesome. So at this point in time, with my trend model at a +1 and everything looking like it's really just firing, we're seeing under the hood, hey, energy is no longer leading. We're seeing leadership stocks setting up. These are all prime conditions. When the market is in a downtrend, it just looks horrible, there's no setups, that's when it's all about playing defense. But for right now, it's actually all about compounding capital. So that's really our goal, so long as this market continues to play nice and play ball. With that being said, that about does it for today's market recap video. Hope you all had an awesome trading session, and as always, I'll see you all tomorrow.